Amazing. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Shun, a data graduate who joined September 2024, and welcome to our second Grad Career Live of the year. If you're joining us for the very first time, then welcome to the career fair that comes to you. In the last few months, we've done deep dives on tech, cyber, and AI schemes and shown you live examples of answering tech-based assessment center questions. Today, we wanted to focus our attention on the sustainable business schemes and give you a flavor of what they really involve.
Hi everyone, I'm Farah. I'm an apprentice here at Lloyd and I started on the financial service apprenticeship in September after leaving college. Like Sean said, it's quite hard to understand what future financial well-being or risk means if you've never had exposure to it before. That's why our guests today are graduates who are and have been on these schemes. They'll answer your questions and give you an insight into their days at work. It's worth noting that at Lloyd's Banking Group, we champion different opportunities for people to get different experiences in different roles in different areas of the bank. You'll find a list of our opportunities and events on our Eventbrite and Faster Forward sites, which Michelle will share with you during and after the show. Keep an eye out for these, as these are the best way to learn about the kind of work we do in the bank. Over to you, Sean.
Thank you. Before we get started with this evening's show, let's see if you all know how to use the chat function in Zoom by typing in where you're joining us from. It's always interesting to see what parts of the UK we're able to reach. I see London, Glasgow, I see
Manchester,
Manchester, Ireland, Edinburgh,
Lancaster.
Manchester.
So it's great to see that you're all from different places. So now that we're familiar with that, we've got two quick polls for you to try out. So our first one, on a scale of 1 to 5, how clear are you on what a career in sustainable or purpose-led business looks like? 1 being not so familiar, and then 5 being extremely clear. And remember, the whole point of this as a session is to explain what careers in sustainable business look like. So don't worry if you're not a 5 right now. Got some 3s, couple of 2s. Haven't got any 5s, so that's good. Hopefully everyone should take away something from this session. Yeah, it's looking like mainly 2s and 3s, which would be expected anyway. So on to our next poll.
Thank you so much. And the second poll, which will come up very soon, on a scale of 1 to 5, to what extent do you feel Lloyds Banking Group is your preferred choice of employer, where 1 is not confident at all and 5 is extremely confident? Numbers are coming in, seeing a lot of 3s, a lot of 4s. Amazing. We'll come back to this later on in the show to see how these scores have changed. Because tonight's show is all about careers in sustainable business, it's important to start with the roles that help make sustainability real and credible. That's why our first guests are Natasha and Owen. Hi, grads on our Risk Graduate Scheme, where they help protect the bank and its customers by overseeing and managing a wide range of financial and non financial risks, ensuring safe and sustainable decision making across the group. Guys, I'll now hand over to you to explain your roles, what the risk scheme is about, and a bit of a quiz on all things risk.
Thank you very much. I will just quickly share my screen. Got a little bit of a presentation to show for everyone here. Fantastic. Hopefully that's being shared all okay. I'm sure it is. I'll get shouted at if not. But thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Owen and I'm with Natasha here. Just to say welcome to Risk, really, and give yourselves a bit of a breakdown in terms of the graduate scheme of Risk. To start off with here, I wanted to give a little bit of an introduction. of myself here. So yes, my name is Owen. I'm from the northeast, so from Middlesbrough. So apologies for the accent for those here from the down south. I have done various different pieces in regards to my career and my education. So I went to Bradford University. I done a degree apprenticeship in logistics. So I actually went into retail. When I finished college, I done that for 3 years as a degree apprentice and then 2 years as a shift manager in warehousing. So I've done 5 years in warehousing in terms of retail in the northeast, servicing northeast and northwest stores. I fancied a career change, wanted to try something new, and what could be more new than maybe financial services compared to working in a warehouse 24/7. So I wanted to go into Lloyds Bank. Various different pieces and reasons to that. Aspects of the culture, the opportunities provided, and I'll get into more specifics in terms of risk. And then just other bits about me. I love a concert. I went to 12 last year. So I really wanted to get them sort of bucket list sort of notes ticked off. Of all the pictures in there that I took, apart from the High School Musical one, I am a fan of High School Musical. I'm not afraid to say it. So without further ado, I'll pass on to Natasha for her intro.
So, hi everyone. Yes, a little bit about me as well. I'm very much into my sports at the moment, although I have been persuaded to start training for a half marathon, which I might regret later on. Otherwise, big into music, did that a lot through university. And as you can see there, I went to Exeter University. So, a bit of a different background before Lloyd's compared to Owen. I did an industrial placement year also at Lloyd's and also in risk. So Lloyd's has been my only formal employer. So yes, quite a different start maybe. And as you can see there, just a fun little thing. I've got 2 little house rabbits. So yeah, very sweet. So I actually joined the group, as I said, in my industrial placement year, working in risk. And this year completely opened up my eyes to the variety and scale of what risk has to offer. So risk will service almost every part of the bank. And because of that, you get such a wide view of what Lloyd's actually does. So from credit decisioning to operational resilience plans, financial crime, data and analytics, climate risk, you name it, risk has a department that services that area of the bank. So on the grad scheme, I actually started off in Edinburgh, so a bit of a move from the very southwest bottom of England right to Scotland. And as you can see, that's Edinburgh pictured there. So for my first placement, I was in an operational and conduct and compliance role. So within what's called the control room. So we were dealing with market abuse regulations on the daily. So essentially making sure if colleagues weren't doing insider trading and monitoring the list of colleagues that were in the know and had privy to non-public information, essentially. My second role, I was working in economic crime prevention in a strategy and training team. So with that, we've had a massive revamp basically of how risk works within the bank. And I was helping lead that training rollout to colleagues within the economic crime function. I was also doing lots of MI reporting in that team, so management information, collating different reports and publishing those to various stakeholders in the group. My current role is actually in the Chief Risk Officer's support team, essentially. So I'm helping organise his various meetings that happen either weekly or monthly. So a lot of stakeholder management involved within that as well. And I think I'm going to hand back over to Owen to talk about the next item.
Thank you, Natasha. Brilliant stuff. So moving on to the risk graduate scheme breakdown. So Natasha's given a really good insight there in terms of her placements, her roles, and sort of her journey through the grad scheme itself. We wanted to give just an overall breakdown and as high level as possible so we don't sort of sit here for 3 hours talking about the entire grad scheme, because we can go through all the different areas and all the different potential opportunities within it. But essentially speaking, risk is essentially whatever the group is wanting to do or implement, there's an element of risk that needs to be factored in. And depending on the risk elements within that, depends on how much of a role we play. So in terms of the overview and the context of the Risk Graduate Scheme as a whole, it's currently frameworked as 3 8-month placements. So within your 2-year scheme, you'll do 3 different teams. I'll go on to the next slide in a bit where it shows the different pillars of them, but essentially 3 teams in that 2-year time span. You'll be then based in your one hub location. You will have an option to persuade or interact with the NGT team in regards to where that would be. Again, depending on where you are based, where your education is, and what your sort of aspirations are, may align to that hub location as well. There's aspects of working from home as well like that, so we do have that variety to offer there. You then have engagement initiatives on technologies like AI, cognitive computing. You'll also look at potentially regulatory frameworks like the PRA and FCA as an example. So there's a whole wide range of risk elements that you can get involved in as well. And there's also a qualification alongside the graduate scheme. So mine and Natasha's have been given the option to choose ours. So some people have gone for an FRM, for example. I've gone for the ICA, which is more about conduct and conduct association almost, or more about international compliance is probably the best way to describe it. And the key call outs I just want to put on this slide here in front of us was just around these skills and optionality aspects of it. Really, from a risk grad scheme perspective, it's sort of what you want to get out of it, really. There's a huge mix between business and tech lines. There's a huge mix between financial and non-financial risk. Really, as I mentioned earlier, and what Natasha's also said, is that with risk being so diverse and we sort of have our hands in all the pies, it's almost what you really find interesting, because there'll be something here that you will find interesting no matter what, really. I've put a list in the types of teams, and again, the next slide will go into that, but we have credit teams, we have platforms which build new tech for wider teams within the group. You have your ESG and your climate teams, you have your business support units, so working directly with clients to support on their financial needs or their structures. You have your market risk and conduct and compliance, you have your model risk office, as it were, and you have so many more between that, and I can go on forever. And then your other aspect on the right-hand side here was support structures. So you have your line managers, which will change for each rotation. You have what we call a risk graduate committee, which myself and Natasha are both a part of, where you can host events and put on development days, for example. You have next gen talent, so what we call as NGT, so you have that direct link as well. And then you also have your fellow early career colleagues, so you have your potential grads, IPs, apprentices, and so on. So there's so many people to meet. The next slide that I have is just to allude further into that. This is just a recent placement structure that we had for the new graduates that have came in, that have just joined the group back in September last year, just to give you a bit more of a flavour in terms of what the actual structure looks to be. So you have your different placements where you've got your customer and credit, your model analytics, and then your specialist and oversight. And then we have our example teams here in regards to what specific teams will go into them areas. I would highly advise potentially making a note in terms of specific teams or specific areas that may interest you. The Lloyds Bank website has some really good in-depth detail and some good oversight and just overviews of what these areas may do. I quite like market risk, and I found that quite intriguing, but actually since doing my current placement in risk science and doing that research, I've quite enjoyed that aspect as well. So it's an ever-changing space, and I really recommend you to look into them as best as possible. You have your critical skills that can be developed at the bottom side here, and then your scheme timeline, which goes back to that 3 teams in each 8-month sort of period, as it were. So I know I've skimmed through that quite quickly, and we can go into a Q&A at the end of the session, but we wanted to give you a sort of a breakdown in terms of what the scheme sort of looks like and what it's wanting to show. But it's also, and I can't stress this enough, it depends again what you want to get out of it. Do you really like the tech side of things, the business side? Do you like working with clients? Do you like creating new projects or new dashboards, as it were? Do you like interacting with people, or do you like to have your own projects and things? So really it's what you want to make out of it. I'll stop my rambling and I'll move on to the next area, where I'll hand over back to Natasha for a day in the life breakdown.
So a day in the life as a grad in risk, you've probably gathered it's very different depending on what role you're going to be in. And also some roles will be very structured. So you might follow a similar sort of routine month to month. So you might have a month-end financial report to submit, but other teams, you'll be getting different things every week and be put into new projects, all the time, essentially. So what I've put down here is endless possibilities of what you could have. And specifically, some of these relate to me and the tasks that I've had throughout being on the grad scheme. So typically, you might start your day with a team call, a catch up with the rest of your colleagues. My team currently have these 15 minutes every morning. It's just a good way to say hi, ground yourselves, and also just check in with any call outs of the day. So anything you want to escalate to your manager ahead of getting into actually the day's work. I know Owen's a big fan of this networking. On the grad schemes, we definitely recommend networking. So if you're interested in shadowing in a team, reach out to them, get to know them, just really explore different options, because, the whole point of the scheme is to get various experiences so you know where you want to base your career. Also, any upskilling, there's a really great thing about being on the scheme. You quite often have, maybe a bit of time to upskill in different areas. So we've got the AI Academy, which has just recently been launched. We have various modules on Workday, so that you can expand your horizons on various number of things. As Owen touched upon, we are both on the Risk Next Generation Talent Committee. So I am actually the onboarding lead. So this has taught me a lot of organizational skills and communication and how to deliver things under pressure. So in September, we organized a 3-day induction for new graduates. And that was, I'm sure, as you can understand, a lot of planning for, I think, about 40 new grads and apprentices we had joining throughout those 3 days. And then actually doing your work for the day. So any project work you've got going on or any daily tasks. As I said, I've done a lot of stakeholder management in my current role, reaching out to senior leaders to get agendas for certain meetings and plan maybe lunch and learns that I've got going on. Also at the bottom then, you've got volunteering. So I know Owen and I have done element of this. So I did Christmas bag packing with our charity partner Crisis. All host of different things you can get involved with throughout your days.
Great stuff. Thank you, Natasha. So we're going to move on to the interactive session. So this will be just a quick Q&A for everyone involved. I encourage people to put in the chats the answers to these. We'll run through some of the questions now. So we've got question 1 in front of us here. So there's no query with this, but just try and answer as best you can. But essentially speaking, the first question is, what is the difference between secured and unsecured lending? There's no silly answers with this, by the way. Just give it a try. Okay, we've got no collateral. Okay. Secured lending is secured by the borrower's assets. Secured equals backed by FCA. Unsecured equals not backed. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. I'll say this, you've done better than me on my first day, that's for sure. Maybe secured is where you're certain you'll get your money back, while unsecured is more dangerous. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Okay, so I will give the answer here now. This is probably the best way I can describe it, as it were. So the answer to question 1 on secured and unsecured lending is secured lending is backed by an asset, so a house, a car. My previous line manager basically said if you can touch it, it's secured essentially. It's an asset that you can have. Unsecured lending has no collateral, so it carries higher risk. So unsecured being like loans, for example, like actual just essentially just money is probably the best way to describe it there as well. So yes, really good answers there, everyone. Very well done. So next question. True or false? We have risk teams based in New York, India, and other areas of the world. True or false? True. Oh wow, everyone's very certain on this one. I don't even need to question this one now. Great stuff, everyone. Yep, true indeed. Brilliant stuff. Okay, we're smashing this through here. Number 3. So when we say risk appetite, especially in Lloyd's Banking Group, when we say risk appetite, what do we mean? What's probably the best way we can sort of describe what a risk appetite is, or what we actually sort of wanting to mean by that? As it said, the level of risk, the amount of risk a person is willing to take, how much. Risk types, willing to take a risk to earn, degree of risk, yep. Honestly, some really good answers here. Like I said, I wasn't even joking, you're doing a lot better than me on my first day. So, yep, in terms of the answers, yep, risk appetite is the amount and the type of risk an organization is willing to accept in pursuit of its objectives. That's probably the clearest way we can put that into one sentence. I could probably ramble on about that for ages. But yeah, essentially speaking, how far can we go with a certain project or whatever type of lending as it may be? Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. And the other question I have here, and there's no actual answer with this because it's more from a personal perspective, and you don't need to put a justification in the chat. It'll just be interesting to see what sort of answers come up with this one. But if you could remove one risk from a bank forever, which one would you choose out of these ones here? You have credit risk, fraud risk, cyber risk, or reputational risk. Oh, wow, a few. Quite a few cyber risk, reputational risk, fraud. Interesting. Brilliant stuff. Like I said, there's no necessarily any sort of correct answer with that question, but it's interesting to see what perspectives everyone is giving with that. And it's just to give an idea of just the variety of risks that we sort of look at. Everything has its webs to everything basically, and there's always the impacts that you have to make aware of these. But brilliant stuff. Really well done there, everyone. Really well done on the Q&A. I should have put a lot harder ones on actually. Thinking about this, so I've made that a learning lesson on my end. So that concludes our session there. Thank you, Natasha, for helping and supporting me with this. And we both want to go to yourselves now here in regards to any quick questions that you may have with us. Please feel free to ask. We're both second year risk graduates. Again, as Natasha's mentioned, we're both part of the risk grad committee. We've done a variety of different placements and things, different locations. So Natasha said that she was in Edinburgh for her first year. I was in Leeds, and now we're both in London. So yeah, good variety here. So any questions, please ask. It'd be really good to hear and see what sort of queries you've got, really. Unless me and Natasha were just we've smashed off the presentation.
I think we do have a couple. Just checking through now. Okay, so I think we've got someone doing finance at uni, and they're a bit worried about grade requirements, is my understanding of the question. So Lloyds will look at your uni grades, and I believe there is it a 2-2? Owen, am I correct in saying? But
yeah, correct.
Yeah, I believe it's 2-2 and above. So yeah, just try hard to get your uni grades, but otherwise it's not an exceptional first. You know, they don't look at only the top, 5% of grades.
Getting quite a few here, which is really good. What is the interview process like for the graduate scheme? Question by Izzy. So these do change, in fairness. These might have changed a little bit since we applied, but essentially speaking, you'll have your application process where you would just essentially apply. You would put your CV through. You then potentially will have a variety of different tests. So you will have some academic question or academic questionnaire, as it were. You can then have potentially a online sort of interview style assessment, as it were, where you put through videos of your assessment and then pass through them. You'll then have an assessment centre. That is pretty much set standard, really. By come the end of that process, at the last stage, you'll have your assessment centre where you'll then join, and there'll be a full day assessment. So it'll be a variety of group activities. You'll have your one-to-one interviews with that. You'll have, again, probably another academic sort of part of the day. So yeah, very mixed bag day. I remember mine was actually a full day, actually, if I do remember correctly.
And no, exactly that. And then the next question, would this scheme be a good option if you have interest in legal support and compliance? Yeah, so we've got a whole area of risk called conduct, compliance, and operational risk. So definitely understanding different regulations within the sector. So yeah, go for it if you've got that sort of background as well.
Natasha might have to help me on this one, apologies, but what's the ideal sector to go into to get a job like yours?
I'm
The ideal
assuming,
sector?
does that sector as in, not quite sure on the clarification of that.
Apologies for putting you on the spot.
I think you heard our backgrounds. Lloyd's will employ anyone from any sort of background. You don't have to have a specific degree. So yes, I've got economics as my degree, but I know one of the other graduates in risk has a psychology degree, another has a chemistry degree. So it's just about the transferable skills that's needed to get into risk.
Yeah, spot on, Natasha. Yeah, so I done a business management degree at university, but there's a variety of people with all sorts of different backgrounds, degrees, and everything else. It's not really sort of a set standard. As such, I think it's more about what can you bring, what sort of, like, excites you, some of what your personality, for example. They're the key traits that they sort of look for. How does screening work for this? Is it just university grades and subjects? So yeah, a little bit the same answer in terms of the university degree itself being not necessarily too much of a standing input is probably the best way to put it. You can have a variety of different degrees that join the scheme. But yes, I do look at your grades in regards to what degree you've got, as Natasha mentioned, at 2-2. Regarding A levels, I don't remember mine getting looked at too much. It might have been a conversational piece at best in terms of my application process, but it wasn't really looked too much into.
What kind of projects do risk graduates get involved with early on? To be honest with you, absolutely everything. They don't hold back in terms of if you're new to the bank. Managers are often very keen to get you involved in standard team tasks very early on. So yeah, one of my tasks in my economic crime prevention team, as I mentioned, was helping the rollout of this new risk ways of working program. And I immediately was having chats with head ofs in sort of parallel teams and discussing with them what they wanted to talk about on various calls to the rest of the department and liaising with them. And that was right within 2 weeks of starting that role. So while it might seem daunting, it's actually really exciting that you're able to get these opportunities, and it's just really great exposure as well.
Great stuff. Apologies, my network is kicking in and out, so apologies. But I'm going to just answer the first Q&A aspect that I can see here by Emma. So how many graduates do you take in for the grad scheme? Varies different in each different year, but my year and Natasha's year is roughly around about 17 people. The cohort that has just joined in September was around about 27. So they have increased the numbers for the risk grad scheme, but them numbers will vary on different schemes as well. I will say that. I do know off the top of my head that the tech and the data science schemes are huge in terms of population. So yeah, they'll vary is probably the best way to answer that.
Yes, so top one, do you work with other departments in finance? Risk will work across the bank with many different teams. It depends what team in risk you're in, essentially. So yeah, if you're in maybe group corporate treasury area, you could be linking in with finance specifically in that role.
What's the most difficult part of the application process for you? Really good question. It is difficult, but I actually really enjoyed it. But it was the assessment centre because I get to speak with so many different hiring managers. I think throughout the day, I was assessed by roughly like 9 people, I want to say. It's quite a big day. It's a full-on day. So it was tough. You are, and I suffer quite a bit with imposter syndrome. So I'm sort of sat there like, how on earth am I even here? But really, really good day. It is nerve-wracking. It's probably the hardest bit, but actually you'll get a lot out of it, definitely.
Yeah, so skipping down a bit. What are the options for tech AI in risk? So I'm sure AI is the massive buzzword at the moment, and Lloyds as a whole is definitely looking to expand on its AI usage within the bank. What that might look like, I don't think we're completely clear about. It's a massively new thing at the moment, but there's definitely area for AI in the bank, and there are definitely teams working very closely with that technology. So yeah, it's a great space to be in.
Yeah, I'll answer so with the introduction of AI, how's this changed the landscape of risk and what you do in your opinion? Similar answer to Natasha's. The only sort of other piece really is that from what we are seeing, there's just a lot of investment in AI, a lot of investment in training as well. It's not just a case of building a system and it'll sort of run the bank. We're sort of way far away from anything like that. There's a lot of drive in terms of upskilling people and bringing people on board with that. So if there's any sort of advice on the back of this call here, I would really recommend upskilling yourself and sort of ask the question to you what you are doing regarding your skill set and what are you doing to bring them skill sets to potential roles like the risk grad scheme in the group at Lloyds Bank. So definitely upskill where you can with that, because if you've got that ticked off, that's a really, really good trait.
Yes, next one. Is there a lot of coding or tech knowledge needed in risk, or how much is it utilized? Across risk, yeah, you definitely can be coding. So at the moment, I think it's either SAS or Python are the main ones. So that would be in your risk science department, say, for example, or the model risk management. They'll typically be the more heavy in coding roles. However, my current role, I couldn't be far enough away from coding if I tried. It's a very organizational and administrative role. So there's definitely good scope for it if that interests you. But likewise, if it doesn't, you might get exposure to it on the scheme, but it's certainly not a pathway you have to follow in the function.
Yeah, and this will be the last question. So apologies, but which skills or experience at uni would be best to invest in to ensure a grad role in risk? Really good question. I think your soft skills are a huge requirement. I think in terms of communication, collaboration, wanting to learn. I know these sound very simplistic, but they do go a long way. Especially with working different teams and just being so diverse. Again, what Natasha's mentioned there regarding others like sort of tech skills, SaaS, AI. There's a lot of things out there that really influence the way risk works and how it functions. So I think that's a really good step. And ultimately speaking, just as a final note, sort of use anything outside of your degree. There's a lot of competition with degrees and things. A lot of people get degrees, so having something that you've got as like an extra piece or something extra to bring with that would be really, really huge. That would be my advice as well with that.
Amazing. Thank you both. I would say it was an amazing session. Thank you. Sometimes hearing from people who are actually in risk environments make it seem less scary and explains it in a very simple way. So thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both. I wish someone had told me growing up that a career in risk can involve so many different things and is also linked to sustainable business too. So we'll now move on to our next graduate, who is relatively new to the grad scheme that Lloyds offer, the Future Financial Wellbeing Scheme. So Yakia, hello. Before we jump into understanding your role, can you simply explain what the grad scheme is all about?
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Yakaya. The Sustainable Financial Wellbeing Scheme is based in insurance, pensions, and investments, and it's really helping our customers feel more comfortable, confident, and secure in key moments of truth in insurance, pensions, and investments. And if you're not helping customers directly in this graduate scheme, you are helping colleagues who help customers. So it's either one or the other, but you are definitely helping towards this objective. So I know the scheme is now Future Financial Wellbeing, but I joined in the Sustainable Financial Wellbeing scheme, and it is a 2-year long scheme with 3 rotations of 8 months each, and it is in strategy, customer facing, or within a platform where you'll help either develop products or enhance customer journeys. So your role as a graduate coming into it is really quite varied, and honestly, I feel like everyone at the bank always says for graduates, it's to provide a fresh set of eyes on processes and to really learn and generally ask different questions on the way we do things. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. So I'll now hand over to you just to explain a bit more about your specific placement and open up the floor to any questions from the chat. Thank you.
So just a bit more about me. Sorry, I don't have any flashy slides as Erin and Natasha did, but I did learn a lot about risk in that session, so very useful. So I studied law at the University of Manchester, a bit different to what you would consider the traditional financial route. And I graduated in July 2024. I also did a bit of an internship in operations at Virginia before joining Lloyd's Banking Group just September, so very new to bank. But it's been exciting the past 6 months, now 6 months, which absolutely flies by. I'm sure Natasha and Owen can speak to this as well. But I feel like I joined this scheme, particularly sustainable financial well-being, because I was really passionate about environmental sustainability and how I could add to this and really grow my career within this sector. And weirdly enough for me, I really enjoy the application process of this scheme as well, and how it gave real life working examples of working with environmental sustainability and really about green finance and things like that. And I really appreciate it compared to other different applications within other businesses because it gives you that real working insight into what you'll be doing day to day. And I really saw myself enjoying that. So now, just a bit more into starting the role and how it all went. So when I first joined, honestly, it wasn't as expected because I really wanted to do things in green finance and environmental sustainability. But that's not to say have not absolutely enjoyed myself. And the first month, I really had an excellent opportunity, myself and one other grad, to go on a training and immersion month, which is a new thing that they're trying out within insurance, pensions, and investments. And with this, we got to see all different business areas within insurance, pensions, and investments. So we got to see general insurance, protection insurance, my team, Scottish Widows Platform, which is in private pensions, Scottish Widows pensions as well. So all the business areas, which was really important to first understanding how insurance, pensions, and investments works because it's such a big, broad area which can be confusing to any grad coming in first. And it really just helps to understand the different ways of working. And it helped to widen my network as well. So whenever I'm in need of assistance, I always have a name to hand. And everyone is so nice and genuine at Lloyd's Banking Group. You can always reach out and they're so on board to help you all the time. So it's never too far-fetched. All my big ideas is always going to someone and they're always on board, no matter how high up the bank they are. So my first placement is in Scottish Widows Platform, also known as the private pensions team. And I'm currently sitting within operations, but more directly the transformation team. So my role is based in creating the business area and making sure that it's really aligned to Lloyd's values and Lloyd's culture, and just making sure that acquisition is more aligned. So what I'm working on is very varied because I feel like any operations role across the bank or even outside is just always a mixed bag. So I have projects that touch upon strengthening our controls, looking at our customer vulnerability, which is one of my passion pieces. So how can we strengthen customer vulnerability, strengthen colleagues' knowledge on customer vulnerability, and just really increase awareness around that. My other passion project that I'm also working on within this placement is called Revitalizing the Catalyst. So we have a colleague network within Lloyd's Banking Group where we really promote colleague change. And my goal was just to really promote that and make sure it's up and running again within my business area. So it's really exciting to work closely with colleagues from all different areas within my business area and get them to work together and bring in that community aspect. And we're working on such a different, wide range of things, such as boosting recognition or really prioritizing active learning, which is something that Lloyd's Banking Group really promotes. And I also appreciate that Lloyd's is so heavy on active learning. So this is learning that you do outside of your day job. And I feel like that's really important as a graduate as well. And I'm also working on different optimization initiatives. So there's also a lot of different professional qualifications that you can get involved in within my graduate scheme. The one that I'm currently taking is the CFA, and that is on sustainable investing. It's a 6-month course, and it really just helps tie in that sustainability piece. But there's also a chance for you to do the CII, which is a Chartered Institution of Insurance, if that's also something that's more on your side. And finally, with my graduate scheme, there's so many different side of desk projects that you can also get involved with. And I feel like all the graduates within my scheme are getting their hand in every little pot that they can. And just a few initiatives that I've been involved in is Bold Network, which is the Black Organization for Leadership and Development. So I've been helping to make sure that it's running, up and running in Scotland, because I'm currently based in Edinburgh for my first placement. And then I'm also involved in Next Generation Impact Lab, which is run by the Aspire Network. And the Aspire Network is something that's run by apprentices, grads, and industrial placement students. And they have set up a lab where all of next generation talent can work on a real business case. And the business case for this one is actually helping to improve our supplier standards and help widen that out to include more holistic frameworks within sustainability, so including more social and nature topics as well, which is definitely something of interest to me. And like I said, I'm someone with a lot of big ideas. So a few that I've really been working on and trying to implement them is something called Sustainable Fridays, which is working to have workplace optimization on Fridays because not as many colleagues come in on a Friday. So how can we leverage off that and make sure that we are using our buildings more sustainably? And I'm also working on another project to increase financial products and support for both graduates and apprentices. And that's something that's also very close to my heart. So there's always a ton of different side of desk projects that you can always get involved with. But that's just a bit about me and my scheme and everything that I get involved with. If you do have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer that for you. But thank you so much for listening. Just seeing some questions. So support within my team, there's tons of support, both from my line manager, graduates in the year above are also very supportive. And I also feel like loads of senior leaders, although their diaries are jam-packed, they always have time to hear out a graduate and apprentice. So if you need support on anything, that's definitely available. Advice for interviews. One thing is I would focus on the soft skills that you can bring as well, especially for the scheme, because it's not essentially like a hard skill place to this one. But that is something that you can really leverage off. So your communication, how you're a collaborator, and how you think about worldwide topics and how you can bring that in. Yeah, if there's no other questions, we can move on to the next section. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. That's really, really valuable, amazing insight. Very clear how varied the scheme is. I'm sure everybody on the call will really take away from this. Over to you, Shuan.
Thank you so much. Exactly. This is exactly why hearing from Graduates Live is so beneficial. We've been in the bank for a while and are still learning about new areas and roles every day. So before we finish, let's take a quick look at the chat box and see if there's any other question that we have for any of our guests. did realize there was one last one. Oh, I think Charlotte has handled that one. Thank you. Okay, back to you, Farah.
Okay, so thanks everyone. So this session has really shown that careers in the bank that link to sustainable business can hopefully make you eager to apply for one of the schemes. We mentioned earlier that Lloyd's Careers live streams on the first Tuesday of every month, but it's not the only thing that we do to support your journey from school to work. This year, we're offering work experience virtually, helping you expand your skills and gather all the insight to land you the right role. We're hosting in-person and virtual skill fests, and we've brought everything together on the Faster Forward platform. The link will be shared. The link will be in the resource sheet in the chat. This is our platform that you can join for free. It offers you learning, guidance, access to work experience, and as you get a little older, start to consider applying for roles. We also have Lloyd's mentors that can help you with questions about the application and assessment processes.
Thank you so much. At the start of the show, we asked you a question about how confident you felt about navigating a career path that might not be as straightforward or clear-cut than one that you think you should have. Now you've heard people's stories of career pivots. Ask yourself this again. A poll will come up on the screen. On a scale of 1 to 5, how clear are you on what a career in sustainability or purpose-led business looks like?
Amazing. Seeing lots of 4s and 5s, which is definitely improvement from the start. Definitely shows that people have taken something from the session, which is amazing. Yeah, mainly 4s and 5s, which is great. So let's also check for your score as Lloyds as an employer. So to what extent do you feel that Lloyds Banking Group is your preferred choice of employer? So 1 being not confident at all, and then 5 being extremely confident.
Seeing a lot of 4s, seeing a lot of 5s, very positive scores. And with those scores, I think we've done our job. The scores have definitely gone up. Like we mentioned earlier, Michelle will be sending out resources with all of our useful links, including a link to our Faster Forward platform, where you can learn more about careers at Lloyd's and chat with some of our career mentors to continue this conversation. And if you've missed anything at all, you can hop over to our Lloyd's Career YouTube channel and catch the replay along with all the other episodes of Lloyd's Career Live. This session will be there by the end of the week. Thanks for joining us today. Michelle, back to you.